This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. Those of you skeptical about coincidences and there are probably a lot of you, are wondering tonight what really happened to computers at the New York Stock Exchange, the Wall Street Journal, and United Airlines, forcing the stock exchange to suspend trading today and United to ground planes. The Obama administration says the problems are not related and do not appear to be malicious. First to the biggest and perhaps the scariest of the incidents today, the New York Stock Exchange suspended all trading right around midday and blamed it on technical problems. The closing numbers, the Dow plunged 261.5, the S&P 500 was down 35, the Nasdaq lost 88. Let's get some answers now from Fox Business Network's Liz Claman on Wall Street, on the floor there. Good evening, Liz. Do they know what started this?
Brett, they don't. We asked the president of the New York Stock Exchange, and they gave us what they know, which was a lead up to it, and that was simply that they had a software upgrade overnight. Now, some would argue that you don't do those kinds of things at a big, technically complicated organization like the New York Stock Exchange. You do that on the weekend. They did it overnight, and this morning at around 8 a.m., the traders started to complain. Look, these trades aren't going through, or they're a little slow, they're a little glitchy. The markets open at 9:30 a.m. and suddenly the New York Stock Exchange noticed that there were all kinds of configuration errors, and it became a huge issue. They had to simply press the stop button, and that was it, Brett. They had to cancel 700,000 trades that hadn't yet gone through. It caused a lot of Sturm und Drang here, and there was some real concern. I talked to a trader. We came running down here just about an hour after it started to happen, and a trader told me, Liz, I've never seen anything like this in my 40 years of working down here. Now, of course, we've had a closure during 9/11. There were all kinds of other issues, but to simply have the New York Stock Exchange say, we can't figure this out, we have to stop all trades, was a big deal.
Quickly, what's the most worrisome aspect of this?
Well, you have to look at man versus machine, don't you, Brett? I mean, you say this really signals a vulnerability in an organization that trades people's money. And this, of course, is in a time when we are way more dependent on electronics. And so you had people who have 401ks and 529s and pension funds who were saying, why can't I see how my stock was trading? There were spillover areas where they could trade other exchanges. The New York Stock Exchange isn't the only game in town now. However, it is, of course, historically in the minds of people a very important perception that it matters. And you had the FBI checking in, you had the president briefed on it, Treasury. So this did matter, Brett.
Yeah, Liz, thank you, as always, there on the floor. The New York Stock Exchange, again, authorities saying it was not cyber terrorism. United Airlines says a router problem reduced network connectivity for several of its software operations this morning. That forced a nearly 2-hour grounding of flights all over the country. It's the second time in 2 months that United has been hit by major technical issues. Now to another story getting a lot of attention. The uproar over the death of a San Francisco woman 1 week ago tonight, apparently at the hands of an illegal immigrant flagged by the feds but freed by the sheriff there, is spawning new concerns about the whole idea of sanctuary cities. And it's feeding into an immigration policy frenzy in the 2016 presidential contest. We have Fox team coverage. Coming up, I'll talk with former Florida governor and current Republican presidential candidate Jeb Bush about his views on immigration, which are routinely criticized by some in his party and now Hillary Clinton. William LaJeunesse with the growing backlash against the sanctuary city concept. But we begin with correspondent Claudia Cowan in San Francisco with another strange twist to this baffling case. Hi, Claudia.
That's right, Brett. Fox News has confirmed that the weapon used to kill Kate Steinle was stolen from a law enforcement ranger with the Bureau of Land Management. It was stolen out of his car when he was here in San Francisco on official government business last month. Exactly how illegal immigrant Francisco Sanchez got hold of the gun is unclear. He appeared shaken and confused at his arraignment yesterday, repeating over and over through a Spanish interpreter, "I'm not guilty, I'm not guilty." This, despite telling a local TV reporter he did kill Steinle last Wednesday after finding the loaded weapon wrapped in a T-shirt. His defense team, indicating they may try to get the charges reduced, told reporters the shooting was an accident, not murder.
We can confirm that Mr. Sanchez did not know Kate Steinle, and he had no reason to want her to be harmed in any way.
But the district attorney's office says that the evidence does support a charge of murder, adding that amid the national uproar over immigration reform and sanctuary laws, it's important to remember the victim in this case, 23-year-old Kate Steinle. A celebration of her life, Brett, will be held tomorrow. Back to you.
Claudia Cowan live in San Francisco. Claudia, thank you. San Francisco is far from alone in promoting a policy that in essence circumvents federal immigration law. Correspondent William Lajeunesse has that part of the story tonight.
If local law enforcement begins to act like immigration enforcement officers, what that means is that you will have people not reporting crimes.
And that's always been the argument. Politicians aren't against illegal immigrants, only those who commit crimes.
We're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security. Felons, not families. Criminals, not children.
Problem is, under many sanctuary laws, even violent felons avoid deportation.
These cities have chosen to make sure that the interests of people who don't even belong in the country, who have multiple felonies on their record, are treated fairly and appropriately and kept in the country.
Sanctuary policies exploded in 2007 when federal officials began training local cops to identify illegal immigrants when booked into jail. But critics complained that deported too many minor offenders. They convinced 200 cities to adopt sanctuary policies prohibiting local police from cooperating with federal agents.
With the ICE detainer not being honored, it sets the stage for something like this to happen, where dangerous criminals are released without notification to ICE.
Put your hands over the railing. Consequently, 347,000 criminal aliens remain at large in the U.S., allowing many to commit more crimes. In 2008, despite a lengthy criminal record, L.A. released Pedro Espinoza. The next day, he killed Jamil Shaw. Last year, this Mexican immigrant was arrested for killing 2 deputies, despite 2 deportations and 10 traffic tickets. Also in 2008, San Francisco refused to alert ICE to violent felon Edwin Ramos. A month later, he murdered a father and 2 sons. Still, some don't blame sanctuary laws for shielding accused killers, like Francisco Sanchez.
I don't believe we should be trying to ascribe blame based on a designation as a sanctuary city.
Now, President Obama said 5 years ago that he opposed an Arizona immigration law because it created, quote, a patchwork system of state laws that undercut federal policy. Well, critics say a patchwork of 200 sanctuary laws does the same thing, undercutting the president's own policy of deporting criminal aliens. Brett?
William, thank you. Republican presidential candidate Jeb Bush takes a lot of heat over his position on immigration reform. For a Contenders series profile piece next week, I spoke with him earlier today about immigration and other topics in New Hampshire. Immigration. Hillary Clinton says you are a flip-flopper, that you're now not for a pathway to citizenship, and you once were. Is that a fair criticism?
Well, Hillary Clinton has been flipping and flopping on immigration for a long, long while. Here's what I'm for. What I'm for is giving people a path to earned legal status, where they pay a fine, they get a provisional work permit where they work, they don't receive federal government assistance, where they learn English, and over an extended period of time they earn legal status. They don't cut in front of the line of people that are impatiently waiting.
But just to be clear, you're saying a permanent legal status for illegal immigrants who qualify. How eventually is that not a pathway? I mean, they're here.
They earn legal status. They don't earn citizenship. That's the difference.
And now, has that changed in your view over the years?
It has changed because the climate has changed, and this is the consensus view that allows conservatives to get in the game. Here's the deal. Hillary Clinton would love to have, just like Barack Obama, would love to have this be a political issue election after election after election. They could have fixed it. They could have fixed it. When she was a senator, she could have fixed it. When he was president his first 2 years, he had 60 votes in the Senate, and he didn't do it. Why? Because they used this as a wedge political issue. I'm going to be a candidate that's going to reach out to Latino communities across this country and offer a lot more hope than what people have gotten in the last 6 years with this tepid economic recovery.
But, Governor, on the change, how does it make you different from anybody else in the field who's also changed? I mean, that statement, losing the primary to win the general, how does that fit in if you're changing the...
This view I've had for, what, 4 years. This is a view that I had that I wrote a book about this, Brett. This is not a change from anything that I stated in this book. You get a provisional work permit and you earn legal status. Doesn't allow you to cut in line from people that have been patiently waiting. Narrow the number of people coming by family. Expand the number of people coming for economic purposes. And deal with the 11 million people in a just way, a way that embraces American values, but gets this solved so that we can grow our economy again and make it an issue that's a winning issue for Republicans.
Here's what the Washington Post wrote recently. The original premise of Bush's candidacy, that a bold, fast start would scare off potential rivals and help him overcome the burden of his last name, has proved to be misguided.
That was not the original purpose of the mission I'm on. My mission is about convincing people that we need to embrace the unforeseen and unknown by fixing how we tax, our broken immigration system, the most convoluted regulatory system in the world, embracing the energy revolution in our midst, and fixing our entitlement system. If we do these things, we could grow economically.
So your last name, do you see it as an asset or a liability?
It's both, and my job is to share my record. People don't know that I cut taxes every year totaling $19 billion, that I reduced the state government workforce by 13,000, that I reformed our education system that now is a model for the rest of the country, that we created 1.3 million jobs. I can share that story, and when I do, all the legacy, dynastic questions kind of subside.
I mean, you're not exactly hitting the last name on your
I love that logo, and that's the logo I've used since 1994. There's nothing new there. 1994, 1998, 2002. I want people to know me as Jeb. I want to connect with them on a personal level. I don't want to be this removed politician that has rope lines and can't talk to the press and can't have give and take with people that don't completely agree with him.
Rope lines. You mentioned rope lines. That was a big deal?
I thought it was bizarre. I mean, I was in 2 parades on July 4th in New Hampshire, running around, sweating, having fun, doing selfies, got bit by a dog. Can you imagine Hillary Clinton getting close to a dog with all the handlers she had all around her? I mean, in order to win, I think you have to deal with the deep disaffection that exists right now. People don't believe in the political system. They don't believe politicians. And so coming at people just who you are and being who you are, being outside your comfort zone, not having it all be controlled, I think is the path to a successful campaign.
Deep dissatisfaction with politicians. Do you think that's why Donald Trump is having success?
I don't know if he's having success. We'll see in the long haul. But there is a deep disaffection with the political system. Look, if 60% of Americans think that they're in a recession in the 6th year of a recovery, they're not stupid. They are in a recession. That's the conclusion, I think, that what people ought to have. And you look at Washington, no consensus has been built, no forging consensus to deal with the big challenges that regular people face. And so my candidacy is going to be about solving problems rather than, making a point all the time.
So when you hear Donald Trump, is he bad for the GOP?
I've already stated my views about Donald Trump.
You're done?
I'm done.
You're through.
I'm through. I gave my views. I just think that we need to be much more hopeful and optimistic about our ideology. We have the winning ideology. Limited government, personal responsibility, individual liberty creates more prosperity and more advantages than any other form of political philosophy. We should focus on that and not get into a food fight that only brings energy to someone who I doubt will be president and is not a constructive force for our party.
Our presidential contenders feature on Jeb Bush can be seen here on Special Report next Tuesday. You can view all the contenders pieces we've done, 19 in all so far, at foxnews.com/special report. When we come back, the head of the House Benghazi Committee says Hillary Clinton's comments about not getting a subpoena from his panel are not true, and he can prove it.